Licks and bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. I got my guy Ron in the building. We piggybacking off the MPK show. You know what I mean? Sim cut it short, so I said, you know what? I got some time. Ron, what's good with you, man? You was on the phone. You got the call in on MBK, but I figured we chop it up a little bit, see what the level of concern is right now for you.
Yeah, man. I'm good, brother. It's always good to chop it up with you guys. Yeah, man. I called in, but now I'm able to sit down and be comfortable. So, yeah. I think we got some stuff to talk about, man. Because Boston is no slouch. They're a beast, and they have to be treated as such.
Yeah, you can't be tentative with this team. I'm not gonna lie. I've been concerned um since the Detroit series, to be honest, with us not taking advantage of home court advantage, right?
Mm.
And then it dates back to last year in Philly. Obviously circumstances with the injuries in Indiana or with Indiana, I give that a pass. But then Detroit and now Boston. Um, how do we fix this? And do you agree that this is pretty concerning? I know you did mention it on the call, so I know you agree. But how do we fix this? What do you think is the problem actually is?
Um, Honestly, the only thing I could think of is just that the Knicks they've got to figure out how to consistently put points on the board and get their offense going. Because I think they're doing enough on defense to cause a problem for Boston, to take them a little bit out of their comfort zone. There's only so much you can do to a team like Boston. I mean, you might get them on certain nights where you can fluster them. But even then, like, right, if we look at it for the first two games of the series, I mean, the Knicks played good defense against Boston, but Boston was still able to come up with 20-point leads in both games, and the Knicks were able to fight back, play tough defense to cut the lead, and then take the lead. But they still went down by 20. So Boston, even on nights where they weren't shooting good, 25 for 100 from three in the first two games, they were still able to put up 20-point leads. They're a very dangerous offensive team. And so the Knicks have to continue to force them into bad shot opportunities, and they gotta do what they were doing before, try to force the ball into the hands of the lesser efficient 3-point shooters. Got to get the ball out of Peyton Pritchard's hand, got to get the ball out of Derek White's hands. Even if you allow Jason Tatum and the rest of the guys to get the ball up, if you can stop Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, two dudes that had 40 points in the same game, and primarily shooting threes, those are dangerous weapons. Keep those guys at bay, and you might have a better chance there. But they definitely got to get their offense going. We need some type of consistent shooting and scoring from somewhere on the court outside of Cat and Brunson.
I mean, I agree. I think there's I'm not too concerned necessarily with the next game per se. I think we win it. Like I said, law of averages. I think we end up having a good shooting night. And if there's one thing that's been consistent in these three games, we haven't shot the ball well other than from 3-pointer the first game with low volume. You know what I mean? Like, we got to get that together. Individual guys haven't really played well other than moments. Brunson down the stretch in particular. Mikal in the fourth quarter in particular. Cat in the third quarter last game, I think it was. Or what I mean, when he had a individual stretch. But collectively, 48 minutes, like, we really haven't put it together yet. But that aside for a second, with the Garden and the home court advantage in particular, what do you think the issue is with that? Because the Boston aside, like I said, it's been in Detroit, it's been in Philly, it's what I mean. It's something that's really been bothering me. The only one consistency I could say is other than this series, but every series like we had we went in tied. We were never down in the situation. You know what I mean? Or we won one at home, went into the next series tied, not down. So maybe our backs got to be against the wall. We're playing with a lead in the series when we're at home, so we take things lightly. I don't know what it could be though. Other than that, like Brunson said today, you know what I mean? Like they took it lightly or whatever, took it for granted.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think you're right. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. The Knicks seem to be better equipped to play with adversity. They seem to like playing as the underdog. They don't necessarily know how to be front runners. They don't really take it well. Like they don't give you that. And that's why, like, I didn't say this throughout the season. This is a regular season thing. I never I never really thought the Knicks could win 60 games because I just don't know if they have that type of makeup to just play ahead and be favored all the time and still step on the neck of the opponent. I feel like they're much better. They're Jekyll and Hyde. I always say they're up and down. So I don't know how they could do that. No, anything could change in the future. But the other thing that I think is bothering the Knicks, and I don't know, but Jalen Brunson said something subconsciously about how they might be going into game 3 and how they approach the game or whatever. I think that the fans, like, we got a lot of boisterous New York fans. They sell out the Garden. They're there packed. They're loud as hell. I think the way the fans talk, we have this complex. I mean, I'm a Met fan, so I don't have it as much as a Yankee fan might. Used to winning, used to being better than the opponent. And I feel like the fans have a high expectation, and I feel like the players might feel that when they're in the Garden and it's rocking and they feel the loud roar of the crowd. They feel like they need to do something. Like it's like something, whatever they're doing is not enough. I don't know if subconsciously they feel extra pressure.
I mean, I was gonna say that sounds like pressure to me.
Yeah, it do. I don't know, like, because defense is defense. You could just go out there and play defense. You don't feel like extra pressure to play defense, but it does give you extra pressure to shoot the ball, put up points, or get easy opportunities, dunks and stuff, to be flashy. All that stuff, I think, is just, it takes more, and I think it's a little bit more pressure packed. So I don't know. I think it's just the intensity in the Garden is such at a high level that the players feel like they have to match that level on the court.
I hope that's not the case. I mean, we seem to figure it out over the course of the regular season. We're never really like a super dominant home team, but we end up, in the plus side in wins and losses column when it comes to record at home. So and maybe it takes that same thing in this postseason. We gotta kind of be up and down at home, unfortunately. And I hope it's not the pressure though, because the pressure, number one, as loud as it gets, as loud as we've seen it at playoff experiences, as loud as I'm sure it was tonight, it only gets louder the higher the expectation comes. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not gonna get any lighter. The pressure, the crowd, the expectation, and individuals. I think that's bothered Mikal throughout the year. You know what I mean? Like, his expectations based off of what was given up for him, and he's been able to find moments. But I don't know, man. It's time for us to really put it together. We haven't had many games where collectively we could be like, all right, this is what we envision for the long term. This is what we envision for the. There's not many glimpses. You know what I mean? It's been very far and few in between. We've seen individuals have those moments, and we could win with individuals too. Don't get me wrong. Or we need two of them. Cat had a bad night tonight, shooting, but you look at the numbers, he still put up numbers. Biggest key to the win tomorrow. I mean, pardon me, Monday. You might be muted. Yep, you muted.
My fault. Apologies. I think it's just figuring out how to get OG going at the bare minimum. OG has to be a part of what they got going on. He has come to the plate, and some might say outside of Jalen Brunson, been the most consistent Nick offensively and defensively. We're not even touching it. He's been fantastic defensively.
Yeah.
I think that's the one anomaly that we've noticed from the Knicks side of it. OG having a 2-point game is just, and only taking 6 shots. He was doing his best Karl Anthony Towns impression here. So like that's something we got to fix. Like, you can't have a game where Brunson has 27, Cat has 21. You getting minimal points from the bench, in the single digits, and you get 2 from OG. Like, he's become a really big factor. So they got to get him going. Mikal Bridges, once again, only 12 points. Just not
shot the ball well, but
and he shot the ball well.
Not volume and 0 for 2 from 3, I believe.
Yep. 0 for 2. Yep. So it's like, so in this, I actually want to give credit to Boston's defense, because I think they had a really good game plan for how they want to attack the Knicks. But once again, the playoffs is a game of it's a chess match. It's a game of adjustment. So we just need to see what Tom Thibodeau can do going forward, and hopefully, because we can't really afford, like, he might have made an adjustment throughout this game. I didn't really notice it as much. I was more paying attention to the results, but we can't afford to have game by game adjustments. He has to make an in-game adjustment on the fly going forward,
especially considering we haven't shot well. I mean, like, we haven't particularly had a good game overall yet. I agree. I mean, I keep saying it with especially this series, and I would have never thought this coming into the series. So a lot of it is based off of what I've seen in the series. I would start Mitchell Robinson next to Cat. I think he's been fabulous, other than the missed free throws. It neutralizes that in a sense, because you're going with them early, so that they're not gonna they're gonna put themselves in a penalty early, which I don't think they do. You know what I mean? So now you can maximize your minutes with Robinson. If you can't play him later, then later in the penalty, that's later. But you maximize your time with him, and it takes away one of their strategic weapons for the for the immediate part of the game. Like you said, just the fact of changing something up, I think it can help. I like the minutes with the 2 bigs for the most part anyway. I think it's been effective. So I think there's so many positives in those minutes that there's cause to make that the particular change. And it doesn't even have to be a starting, but go to them early. You know what I mean? 8 minutes. Let 4 minutes come off the clock, and 8 minutes, depending on the foul situation. You know what I mean? If they want to put themselves in a penalty at 8 minutes, I think that's a plus advantage for us. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be a starting change in that sense, in my opinion. But I think that's a strategic move that will work. What's your thoughts on that? And then if you have another strategic change that you think could work, and maybe why?
I think they should do that. I think I have no problem with the 2 big lineup. They're still doing the hack of Mitch, and it's still working to their benefit. It's also helping the Knicks in some regards too. Today the Knicks couldn't capitalize on it, but it did put the Knicks in the penalty at some point with like about a little over 2 minutes left in the first half. It's just that, the rest of the offense for the Knicks wasn't really there today, so they couldn't really benefit from it. And then I think defensively, Mitch is definitely causing today. He's been a lot more active. And you can tell the differences he's making. Those little things that he was kind of struggling at, getting his timing together, getting to certain spots, getting his hand on the ball and anticipating. So he's starting to get that going. even when he can't reel in a rebound, he's starting to hit the ball, tap the ball. He's starting to get back into the Mitch that we're used to. That's the very disruptive Mitch. When Mitch is out there and he's a nightmare for other teams because he's just everywhere. He's long and he's just a presence. So I think that's definitely something that Boston sees, and it puts Boston in that situation where even if they want to try to not depend on the three so much, they know the Knicks have a rim protector down low, so they don't want to go right into the paint and have their shots affected. So yeah, I think it's very important. If we didn't have Mitch in this series versus Boston, I think we would have got blown out, because I think they would just do whatever they want, and then whenever we start to press and try to help double team them in the paint, they would bomb us away from three. So Mitch is definitely a big part of what we're able to do out there. Now, as far as
one thing,
go ahead.
You mentioned the 2 minutes. When they were in the penalty. I think at that point in the quarter, that's probably a time where I would take that risk. If I'm the Celtics, you know what I mean. But when you're playing him with it early in the quarter, 8 minutes left, you know what I mean, or starting a quarter with him, I don't think they take that same strategic move, because now you have you have so much time to be in the penalty.
Right, it will put them in the penalty even longer, and that makes a lot of sense. I think that's what some people were saying, that they should start Mitch to put them in the penalty earlier. But to your point, that might prohibit them from doing it so early, which allows the Knicks to benefit from Mitch's presence out there longer, because they don't want to go in the penalty right away. So yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe that's out the gate. As far as defensive measures, maybe that's the first thing they should think about doing. I think another thing they should think about doing, and I know that Tibbs is probably not going to do it, but I just feel like you need to have Landry Shamet somewhere in this series. I think like his 3-point shooting, granted, he came into the game, he missed the shot that he took, but we've seen now, we don't know Landry Shamet from what we've seen this year. He's a rhythm shooter. He got to get going. He's not one of those cold assassins that comes off the bench and just knocks it down. Like, he got to be out there and getting some shots. He got to see the ball going in the rim. Maybe if he can get to the free throw line and see it go in, whatever. But he needs to see the ball. He needs repetition. And the only way to get him repetition is to play him. And I find it hard to believe that Tibbs can't figure out a way to come up with minutes for him. I mean, he's shortened Campaign's minutes. Campaign was getting more minutes, at certain points in the Detroit series than he is now. Like, I don't see why you can't figure out a way to give Shamet just, you may not need,
it's tough. I think his ball handling is good enough to play some point minutes or some lead minutes, you know what I mean? Or you know what I mean, somebody, maybe he's playing with McCall, so McCall could handle the ball. I do think there are opportunities for that. I agree. But
I just feel like it. Oh, no, go ahead.
It's risky. I think it's risky. I just don't know. It might have been too long. It might be too late. You know what I mean? Too late to kind of get him hot.
There's truth to that. It might be too late to get him going. But the only thing is, this is where you find it a little tough to rely on certain guys. Do I think OG needs to be a bigger factor in this series? Yes. But, OG's still learning how to be this newfound offensive talent. He doesn't have go-to moves yet. He's moving around the court. He's kind of enforcing his will with his strength and his quickness to certain spots. But when you're playing up against a good defensive team with length, it can make it a little bit more difficult for you if you don't have a go-to bag. And I think that's where OG is struggling right now. And the Knicks
he has to shoot well from three, or else we're not going to really get much.
And I think that's the thing, man. Like, they got to figure something out. And I just thought, like, Shamet is a professional 3-point shooter type. Like, if you could he can get a shot up. You just got to get him in the flow of the offense. Like, for OG, he's got to figure out a way to go up against Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, two of the best defenders in the league, and get to a certain spot where he can be comfortable taking the shot. It's either a three or it's in the in the middle of the paint, like, deep in the paint. It's not easy to go from point A to point B. There's a lot of in between.
I think Tibbs has a tough situation because even though I think Shamit is a feisty defender, I think going with Shamit gives them another target. And I think when what Tibbs is doing is anytime Brunson's off the floor, anytime Cat is off the floor, it's going to be a plus defender. You know what I mean? With whatever the limitations to the offense may be or not, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a plus defender. It takes away a target, because I do think that's when Boston's at their best, is when they're targeting Brunson or Cat. The funny thing is, I don't think they did that as much today as they did in the first two games, where it looked like they was doing that out the gate and often. I think that was the main change tonight. Or, maybe they're doing that and then we're doubling and then they're finding the second, third looks off the double. But yeah, but I do think we need shooting. I agree with Shamit could help in that aspect. He's not a horrible defender, so he may even targeting him may not be the best strategy. So I could rock with it. I think we do need to try something. Any other idea?
We need. No, I mean, the only other thing is campaign, but campaign just hasn't done enough to really put a dent out there. And I'm maybe one of the few people that's not in love with campaign's overall game. I like his defensive. I like his defense. I like his hustle. I like his energy, and I like his 3-point shooting when he gets good looks. But outside of that, I mean, I don't like his floater game. I think it's trash. So like, there's some limitations with campaign as well. Like, if you run him off the 3-point line, now it's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're gonna get. So I don't know.
I actually like Cam. I think he's surprised me. I wasn't his biggest fan when we got him, other than the knowing that he's gonna bother other teams, mm-hmm. like a Pat Beverly to an extent. But anyway, but I like Cam what he's done. I just don't think he's been given a long enough. If you're gonna give him the opportunity, I don't think he's given a long enough shot to kind of impact the game one way or another, other than the first game.
Yeah, I think. Other than the first game. The first game, he was definitely important. I'm getting.
But he had extended run. He even rocked with him longer. So it's like, unfortunately, for him to get the extended minutes, for him to really impact the game, he has to come off out the gate impacting. You know what I mean? For him to even get the extended opportunity. But Shamit over Payne, I don't think it would hurt because it's not going to be extended minutes. You know what I mean? Like, Shamit might do something in the campaign minutes that Cam hasn't been doing. He's definitely a better shooter. He's probably more of a threat for Boston to focus on when it comes to shooting and not being able to double off or sag off. Could work.
And the other thing too is, I mean, I'm just playing it strictly by the numbers and what the Knicks are missing. I understand the defense, like campaign at this point, might be a little bit better as a defender than Shamit, because even though Shamit is right there on his guy, I always say he's a funny defender. He's like the best bad defender. He's right there on his guy, but somehow his guy still finds a way to score. But
he should. But he must not have a good wingspan.
It could be small wingspan might have something to do with it. But like, for example, regular season, and the reason why I bring this up is because I think it's telling. Landry, this watching the games, Landry Shamit, it took a while to get going, right?
Yeah, that's my concern.
He took a while to get going. Yet, the regular season campaign finished shooting 40% from the field and 36% from three. Landry Shamit shot 46% from the field and 39.7 from three for the season. So it just tells you, like, once he got going, that's how explosive he was. And So I just think that you just got to get him out there, give him some reps, get him going. If he lights a match, I mean, it could be the difference for the Knicks, and it could energize the rest of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
So they need something.
Let me ask you this: what did you like, or what did you see from Precious tonight? Obviously Tibbs is only going to that situation when the bigs are in foul trouble or out the game, like can't come back in the game. But I liked what I saw from Precious tonight on defense. I liked his activity on offense. I think it gives us another guy that you could number one switch on anybody, which I think has been our most successful defensive game plan. It's actually switching.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, whenever he's on the floor, what I mean, especially if he's alongside the OGs, the McHale's, or what I mean, the other switchable guys, I think that becomes a plus. I don't think he should be relegated to only spelling Mitchell Robinson and or Cat though. I think he should be, allowed to sub in for OG and sub in for McHale, especially when you're not taking both of those guys off the floor, because now it gives you another guy that you could primarily put on Brown or Tatum, if you know what I mean, if that's the matchup. Well, what do you see from Precious? What do you like, and do you think he should be utilized more? Granted, he doesn't give us the offensive power that is the main problem in this series.
But he's streaky, right? That's one thing we know about Precious, like streaky, not a shooter, but a scorer. He could be a streaky scorer at times, right? Get him going, have him feel good about himself, get some rebounds, putbacks, dunks. He can do certain things to get himself going, which in turn gets the team going. I agree with you that I think he does need to be utilized. I think he makes for a better matchup for somebody to guard somebody like Al Horford. I also think he's not a bad option to guard Jason Tatum at times, because I think he matches up well with guys his size or not fast guys either, and I think that's fine. I wouldn't even mind seeing him at times. I know it's a little bit of a gamble because you got to keep your stuff in the barrel just in case you get into foul trouble with your bigs. I wouldn't mind seeing a lineup of something like two bigs here and there, just for a little bit. I'm only talking about a few minutes of like Cat and Mitch out there with Precious and with McCall and with Brunson, like just giving the size, right? So it helps on the boards. I feel like it benefits Mitch to be in the in the paint, being that presence, but allows Precious to be able to roam. It allows Cat to be able to play in space, because defensively, I think Cat looks pretty good in space. I kind of like him in space. As long as he keeps his hands to himself and doesn't fall for the fakes, I like how he plays in space. So I think that would be not such a bad idea at times. And then you still got, along with Cat being out there, you still got two offensive weapons in McCall and Brunson.
I think there's too many variables for it to be successful. One, I think those two offensive weapons, or three, Cat, I think they got to be on. At least two of them have to be on, on fire. And also the dilemma with Mitch, I think it has to be early in a quarter. Because of that dilemma of Mitch's availability. And Precious is probably not the greatest free throw shooter either. Obviously better than Mitch, but so I think it falls into that category. Now you're giving them two options to kind of run that with, if they're in the penalty, if they're in the penalty. So I think it would probably be at its best success early in the quarter. Maybe starting the fourth. I'm saying, starting the second, maybe then, where there's no fouls. If you're gonna utilize it, fine. If not, boom. But it does give us supreme length. Maybe if guys start the whole fourth quarter, OG and Mikal, you do something like that. Because you said who would be on the floor? It would be
Mitch, Cat, Precious, McCall, and Brunson.
Okay, so if OG played the whole first, that'd be a time for him to kind of get extended rest. Mikal get a break early and then start the second quarter or the fourth quarter with it. I could see that working.
Yeah, I just think it allows, because part of the thing with Precious is the assignment, right? Having to be out there, and if he's got to guard centers, we already know that's a negative. But like having to have the pressure of playing that power forward role, right? Not that he can't, but I'm just saying, putting him in a situation where he can play a three and still help out, have the help defense for the four or for the center spot. I like the versatility of it. I'm not saying it's going to work. I don't know. It's something we haven't really seen Tibbs do. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't mind trying it just for something a little different. And if nothing else, it definitely helps the Knicks on the boards because Precious is a better rebounder than OG or McCall. And so you got him, Mitch, and Cat out there. The Knicks should really be controlling the boards. Second chance opportunities should favor them during that time when those three guys are out there. But
what do you think about the refereeing? You heard me earlier. I said it felt like they wanted to see if we could come back from 20 because I mean all series long there've been phantom calls on Cat. I think you know what I mean. Where I don't see how they're calling some of the fouls on him, and he's not getting that same call on the other side. But I wouldn't say they affected the game. I'm not complaining. But what's your thoughts on the refereeing? I know you said it earlier, but
yeah, well, here's the funny thing. When you look at the numbers and look at how it played out, it's not something that is like evident, right? It's not like you can point to and say, it's not glaring, it's not egregious. You know what I mean? But it's the refs. The Boston got like calls at big times in the game that, in some cases, there was one that definitely could have been a no call that they called. And I'm like, that's the type of stuff that you look at. Because really, the Knicks got the benefit of the foul whistle more than Boston with the Hackimich and everything else that was done. I mean, Boston went to the free throw line 17 times. The Knicks went to the free throw line 35 times, right? Boston had 26 personal fouls because of the Hackimich. The Knicks had 16. So it's not like it was one-sided. It's not that. It's just the way the calls were made. There's inopportune times and calls that maybe should have been like, put the whistle in your pocket, ref. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And that's a little bit of a problem. It's less evident, and it's not something you can say that definitely it's one-sided, but you can see that there's an impact on it.
It doesn't. Number one, it don't feel like it affected the game at all tonight because the score wasn't close, right? So if we had it close, you know what I mean. Number one, if we have it close, I have confidence in Brunson regardless, and the Knicks are pulling it out. But yeah, when the score is like this, it's not. You can't ever really point to the referees unless it is something egregious, like you said, or you could pinpoint it. I agree. I just don't like Cat specifically not getting calls, and I feel like at least one a game they call a foul that the replay really doesn't show a foul, and one being the Tatum one, which I guess that would be 50-50, but Tatum definitely jumped into him. You see they let that one go tonight when he did it. They didn't call anything. And then the Knicks, I feel like they trying to out tough us, and we're not responding to that part. Like you see when Josh Hart hit the floor, I don't know if he hurt his neck back, whatever he hurt, he left the game, came back. You seen the foul they put on him? when he
Mhm.
potentially would have had the fast break.
Mhm.
Like that's a body check foul. Like number one, yeah, nice hard playoff foul, but I think that's intentional because they know, you know what I mean. Like he's hurting right now. Let's go test that. Same thing with Cat in the hand. You know what I mean? Let's test that. I think we gotta reciprocate that energy because those guys are banged up too. You know what I mean? So if you go and foul Tatum, make sure you get that wrist real strong. You know what I mean? Orlando was doing it.
I agree. It makes sense. It makes sense. You gotta fight fire with fire. Like there's nothing they can do that and get away with that we can't do and get away with. And if they start calling it on us, we're gonna force them to call it on them. I guess that's the best way to look at it. So just try to, beat them at their own game. I, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, there's adjustments and different things that they could do, but I really just think it all comes down to the offense. Like the Knicks offense has been really terrible. I mean, terrible. It really has been. As a team, overall, as a unit, I mean, they shot 20% from three today, 40% from the field, 68% from the free throw line. But I'm not gonna let me forget the free throw line, guys, because they actually shot well from the free throw line. The only outlier
Mitch.
there is Mitch. So yeah, don't forget the free throws. They shot good from free throws, but from the field, 40% from the field is like 4 percentage points below league average, and then 20% from three is just terrible. So yeah, I mean they gotta figure out a better way. Like you can barely beat teams in the regular season playing that bad, let alone in the playoffs against a defending champion who is shooting 50% from three. It's tough. That's a tough one. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
they definitely seemed a lot more poised tonight, Boston. Um, uh, like they weren't gonna slow down the attempts, but they was gonna take their times in the shots. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that was the difference. Not one three really seemed rushed,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the first half.
Right.
I think there might have been one that was rushed and it was a miss in the second half, but for the most part, make or miss in the first half, they took their time and made sure they, you know what I mean, they got a nice, clean, good look at the shot, and it was with purpose. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when Tatum took his threes, whether it was a step back or sidestep, he knew he was doing that before he got to the actual move. So you know what I mean, it was concise, and I think that was one thing that kind of helped them figure out that part of it. I
Mm-hmm.
think they rushed a lot of the shots, especially game two. The noise of the game one performance was kind of creeping and settling in.
Right.
Do you think we took their best shot tonight, given the pressure?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I think
or do you think they feel like, all right, we still didn't play our best?
no, they played their best. They played damn good tonight. I think this is what Boston is. This is what you're gonna have to deal with, night in and night out. If they're shooting well, this is who they are, and I think it allowed them to do so many things to put us in a blender. Like we couldn't really combat what they were doing because the shooting was so dynamic and so effective from outside. And plus the other thing that they were able to do today that they didn't really do. I mean, they settled in the first two games, but today they were able to do it. Today, whenever they got their wide open shots, they knocked them down, right? And then whenever the Knicks tried to close out and get into their face at the 3-point perimeter line, they attacked the basket and they didn't go all the way to the hole. They stopped right around the 10-12 foot mark and did a little mid-range pull-up because they knew they didn't want to get too close to Cat or Mitch or whoever was in the game to have them affect the shot. And Jaylen Brown was killing us in that little midi area. And then the other thing you notice is when the Knicks started to go on what people might consider their semi comeback,
Mm-hmm.
Porzingis filled the lane, got right into the paint area to get something easy in the paint or
Yep.
to get fouled.
Yep.
Like they
Yep.
knew what they
Yep.
messed up on.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. They were concise,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like, and kudos to them. They said, hey, we had a 20-point lead in every game, right? First two games. So there was probably no doubt in their mind that they can get back up to the 20-point lead. The things they worked on was how to keep it. The things they worked on was how to, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? How to stop the Knicks from fighting back from it. So I agree 100%. We got to get off to a faster start, and this is again something that's been an issue really throughout these playoffs. You know what I mean? Like we kind of been playing from behind for the most part. You know, we've never had a comfortable lead in the playoffs this year. You know what I mean? Like everything has been hard fought. Um, can we win if they shoot the way they shot? That's my last. I got this one and one more question. We got it.
Yeah, I think we can win if they shoot the way they shot, but it has to be. And I think the Knicks can play the same way they played as far as on the defensive side, because I think they did enough to play Boston as good as you can play them when they're knocking down things at that clip. I just think they got to do more offensively. They have to. Like Tibbs, people don't give Tibbs credit for it, but if you really look at, if you bottled up this whole season of Tibbs's out of after timeout play calls, his inbound plays, he's got a lot of good stuff that he's come up with that got the Knicks really easy shots, like backdoor cuts, Mikal Bridges cutting to the lane wide open, things off the curls, screens, double screen that they did for Mikal when Mikal hit the three to win the game in the regular season. Like he's got a lot of good plays that work. So there's no reason why he can't just implement some of those plays that in game. So I think he needs to do a lot more of that because they got some stuff that they that looks like it works. And they have to figure out a way to get some rhythm going offensively. Maybe they got to go back to certain things at different times. Like we saw, Boston didn't care. Boston ran the same play. Now, of course, we know that the second time it didn't work. But they ran the same play that they ran in game 2 where Jason Tatum ran right down the lane and got an easy dunk past Mitch. They tried to run it again because they thought they could see it being effective. Thankfully, the Knicks did something a little different, so it didn't work. But there's
I
no
see a lot of people saying it wasn't the same play. It was the absolutely same play. The difference was OG didn't allow himself to get screened off, which allowed Tatum to be one-on-one with Mitch in the first one. And come downhill. Once OG made it to the inside of Horford, I believe, it advantage taken away because even once you pass Mitch, OG's there.
Yeah.
So, but it was the 100% at the same play, right?
Yep, it was, and so I think that's what they need to do. They just need to figure out if they've got to do double screens here and there throughout the game at different points. If they got to do a dribble handoff, if they've even got to do, moments where they do isolation, right? I mean, I'm like serious isolation, not like, Brunson just has the ball. I mean, put everybody on one side and leave Brunson on one side by himself or Cat and let them go to work and let Boston have to send somebody to help. And I'm not saying you do that a lot. You just do it once or twice in the game just to give them a different look. Like, oh, wow, they're going supreme isolation. Like just doing something different to make Boston think, like to make their coach work a little bit. I think they got to try it because their offense is so stagnant. It's like really bad right now. Really bad. It's like the worst it's ever been all season.
Yes, salute. Yes, it is.
I could tell. I could tell by the way the Knicks symbol and the New York is popping out. I always look at that as hot.
Yeah, I got a couple of different ones. I'm actually I like the quality.
I think they do good work. I haven't bought nothing yet, but I will.
No doubt. How do we not have a slow start? And what do you think might be the cause of it? Obviously, Sim thinks he's giving all the credit to the Celtics defense, and I really think we've been missing shots that we're more than capable of making. It looked like Brunson. Was it you that mentioned he facilitated or seeked out?
He wasn't really looking for his shot.
He wasn't, but I also think he didn't. When he seen it was time to take over early, he wasn't even making his. You know what I mean? So it was like
that. So there, Tony, therein lies the problem. when you try to do something to get others involved and you take yourself out of the flow of the offense, especially going up against a phenomenal. I mean, Boston is a great defensive team. You can't just turn it on whenever you want to against them. You have to have some type of rhythm. And he had no rhythm because he was looking for his teammates all along. And then when he finally went to call his number, they were ready. And they were trying to take him out of the game anyway. So they're trying to get the ball out of his hands.
Yeah. How do you think we fix that though? Shout out to Brian.
Well,
3 times in a row.
Yeah, people ain't gonna want to hear it, but that might be the way to go. Shout out to Paris Duggar. Brunson probably has to come out firing, get his game going first, get some type of continuity, right? Get a couple shots going, maybe even get to the free throw line early, whatever, and then start having guys play off of you, right? Then when defense comes, when they try to get the 2-man, the double team coming to get the ball out of his hands, the Knicks have to rotate the spots. Don't stay stagnant in one area. Like I saw in this game, there was a lot of points, not a lot, but there was a couple points where Brunson had to move somebody over, or Deuce moved somebody over. Like the Knicks gotta be.
They gotta know that already.
They gotta know. They need
to read that. The supporting cast needs to read that from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, I'm conflicted as if whether I want him to come out gunning. It might be what we need though. It might very well be what we need to kind of get us going, considering somebody has to start us off early. You know what I mean? Like,
even if it's not even necessarily what we need, it's what he needs, because he needs to get himself going. Because even if he decides to shut it down a little bit, he needs to pull from that later in the third and the fourth or whatever it is. He got to get some rhythm already going, because once Brunson sees the ball going in the hoop, you know how deadly he can be. He can just turn it on at any moment.
That's facts. Well, yeah, man, I want to go watch that next game, Ron.
All
Appreciate you jumping in with me, chat. Appreciate you jumping in with me. I'll be back Monday. I might do something tomorrow night, but I'll definitely be back Monday, something around noonish, 1ish. Looking to get my special guest. If I could get that going, that'd be great. You know what I mean? Shout out to John Harvey, aka High Octane from N1. If y'all was familiar with the N1 run, but yeah, man, we gotta get this next one for sure. Ron, when you doing your next show? Monday as well.
Monday night normally would be at 9 but the Knicks are gonna play, so it'll be after the Knicks game.
After the game, okay. Right after.
Yeah, right after, and then I will lead people into, if Sim does a post game, probably right into the post game at some point.
I was gonna say vice versa. If you on a post game, go straight to Ron's joint afterwards. If you on Ron's joint, go straight to the post game afterwards. But yeah, you see me Queens Court Monday, MBK Monday. It's gonna be a still Knicks fans Monday. It's gonna be a full loaded schedule. Until next time, your Blackest Time. Replay gang, Silent Ones. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, Ron, appreciate you.
No doubt, brother.